Welcome back to the Budding Author Podcast with me, Simon Ward, your host. Today we're going to be talking to G Cobbett, or more familiarly called Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
You've got my favourite author in the background.
I know. I saw that there. Do you know J.R. Ward at all?
Oh, God, I wish I did.
J.R. Ward. There is a story behind this.
Is there?
My brother, I'm Simon Ward, obviously. My brother is also J.R. Ward.
Oh, my God.
But it's not the same J.R. I think J.R. Ward actually is a female author.
Yeah. And she lives in South America.
My brother loved the books, and he read the whole series, J.R. Ward, and he sort of got me into them. It's very spicy.
There's part of them.
I'm
rereading them, you see. So that's the ones that I've reread this year. So, and the pots on the top read Lesser Hearts. Your brother will know all about that.
I read the dagger one.
Yeah.
Which is basically the vampires.
Yeah.
I quite like that. There's the angel ones, which I didn't really sort of get on with quite so well.
I couldn't. Even that. Do you know what's really odd is I love angels and demons. That's partly because what a pagan does is that I mentioned earlier before we started recording that I'm pagan, and what we do, I'm pagan priest as well. So that means that I run a coven, and what we do as pagans is the priest or all of us, we research ideologies and theologies, and we discuss these ideologies and theologies and what we've learned, and we take from each what we feel comfortable with believing, and then we write it in our book of shadows, and in that way we're writing our own Bible. So I love angels and demons. I'm rereading the Bible. I read it when I was a young girl. I'm rereading the Bible. I'm very drawn towards religion, obviously, because I'm a priest. But I just Coven and Covet. I couldn't get into it the way I got into Black Dagger Brotherhood. That's my favourite. That's just wrath and rage. And
they do say the female fantasy is about sort of vampires and being dominated by vampires and that sort of stuff. That's what I hear. Is that true?
To me, I think I'm too old for all that nonsense, for one thing. But for me, it was just the stories, and it's so well written, and it's the fact that she makes you love these guys.
Yeah.
And
makes you want to be a vampire.
Makes
you want to be a vampire.
Yeah, it makes you want to sort of like go out and write the lessons. That's what I do. I mean, I wrote a vampire book years ago. I love horror. Love the horror genre as well. But just love the Black Dagger Brotherhood. It's so I'm rereading the series now. I've got Lassiter to read at the end then.
Yeah.
And he's, of course, the fallen angel. If anybody listening knows the Black Dagger Brotherhood. Lassiter is the fallen angel.
Super. The your website, Cobbett's Books, got quite a spread there, haven't you? Classic I'm iRobot, Isaac Asimov. Stephen King, the patron saint of pantsers.
Yeah, I'm not doing really well with Dance Macabre, in all honesty. I'm like, usually I finish a book in a month, and I think I've done like 2 chapters. He's talking about writing in the horror genre and horror, terror, just, how to make people uncomfortable, whatever. And it's just, I'm struggling with it. Yeah. So, it's kind of like sat on my side at the minute while I plough through, because I love Asimov, totally love Asimov. Can't wait to finish that. And of course, I read a fair few indie authors as well every month.
Yeah, the challenge for me with writing is the constant clash between pacing and adequate detail. How do you address that with your writing?
I edit a lot. Is the answer, because I tend to flow write. So I start off with a book and I have an idea, how it's going to go, but I don't plot, because I know a lot of people plot, and I don't. I sort of like, I'll be in the car writing the next chapter as I'm going along, and then wherever I get to, I'll sit down and I'll write that chapter, and then when I edit and I have proofreaders, I'm like, okay, what can I take out here? What's not necessary? Because I think we all do it, whether we plan or we don't. We write in an awful lot of unnecessary parts, and so I will go through and I'll edit, and I'm like, okay, that's not necessary to the plot. That's not necessary to the plot. That's not necessary to the plot. And then I'll be like, even stuff that is necessary, can I tone that down? Can I take out the word whispers? Can I take out the there's a term for it, junk words?
Yeah.
And cut it down that way, so that it's flowing better.
Yeah.
And I find that when a lot of it as well is down to tense.
That's a nightmare, tenses.
Yeah, I tend to stay in present and past, because I'm more so past, because when you start writing it's hard to keep that in the present tense, if you know what I mean. So so I tend to stay in past tense. Then it was the last time she saw him, and blah blah blah. Just because it's for me, it's easier for the flow, and I do tend to cut out a lot of words that other people will probably put in. I worked with an executive editor for a long while, and she just showed me all the stuff to cut out that can knock flow and pacing down. But I tend to write and then edit.
It's quite strange, different writers, different processes and that sort of thing. I'm probably a rare one. I'm pretty much the opposite to that, because I write very direct. So when I'm reviewing things, I'm putting in detail rather than taking out detail. Yeah, so I'm adding stuff in. A chapter I've just been editing. It's like a mini episode for a series I'm writing, and I think we're at 5,500 words, and in my first edit it went up to 7,000. And then so for my typical process, I'll forget tenses and everything like that. I'll just write the story.
Yeah.
And then when I go back in, I'll sort of do my edit, have a full read aloud to see where my tenses are still wrong, and my POV, my point of view, is still wrong. So I'm sort of changing those.
Yeah, but that's probably the best way to do it. But what I'm trying to do, because with the Verona College series, I did it so that each chapter was different characters' POV. So there's main characters. Each chapter was one of the main characters, but it would flip from like one part.
I like that style. Ellie Kennedy. Have you read hers? She's very good, actually. I think I did look at her. She's selling about 3,000 a week, I think.
Oh, is she? Wow, she is good. Is she an indie author, or?
I think she's an indie author.
I think everybody's an indie author now, aren't they? Because trying to get a traditional publishing contract is.
Well, you need to be a celeb beforehand, don't you? I think.
Yeah, or you need to. I think that's where we're at with that.
Yeah.
I think as well, AI is a big problem because
Well, AI, I think we've touched on this a little bit on different shows. The blurring lines of AI, because I think from my point of view, I use Pro Writing Aid for editing,
that
but strictly speaking, that's AI, isn't it?
it depends. If you let it rewrite, yeah,
If that
that
suggests rewrite as such, yeah.
Yeah, that particular editor, before all the AI palaver came out, wasn't much different to it is now. It's just that now it has that option where you can have it rewrite everything. You know,
Yeah.
use that option, then it's not AI. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a normal highlighter, same as Grammarly. I don't use the AI option.
Suggested things. Passive voice, that's my nightmare. You're writing in passive voice. This is in passive voice. It's like sort of go crazy with it.
Yeah.
What's your biggest challenge writing wise?
I'm just in the middle of editing one now.
Are you printing all out to edit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done one edit on the computer. This is a second edit. And when this is done, I'll edit it again. I'll read through it again. And then it'll go off to the proofreaders. My biggest is I tend to put names in a lot. So it's like the main character in that's called Holly. And, you know, I try to keep it the top of the paragraph, Holly and Vince are the main characters. But then I find like writing Holly and Vince, Holly and Vince, Holly and Vince, Holly and Vince.
Yeah.
And just overdo it. So then I'll go back through her, he. You know.
I'd have to say, Pro Writing Aid's good at spotting that though, isn't it?
Yeah. I only use the free version now. I don't pay for the full version anymore. I used to.
It was £120 for a lifetime subscription.
Yeah, if you buy it in November.
Yeah, that's and that's 120 quid for life. That's sort of not a bad deal, really.
So I think you know when it comes on sale again in November, that's what I'll do. I'll do this year. I'll because I only bought it for the year. Look, I was really pleased with it, but just money wise, it wasn't feasible for me this year.
Yeah,
because I had so many other outgoings that were far more important.
I think writing. There used to be a time when people would make a lot of money writing, but I think that time's passed. I think it's a labour of love now rather than sort of a career.
Yeah.
Unless everybody else is selling far more than me, I don't know. Perhaps they probably are. But
no, I think you're right. I think again, you know, when people can write books using AI in 20 minutes, what hope is there for the rest of us?
Yeah, it's funny. I had one strange month where sales were low, and I under a pen name I'd written a journal, and I'd used some a template. So it only took me sort of 3 or 4 days to sort of put this together. And in that one particular month, that sold more copies than my stuff that I'd been promoting.
When I wrote, I had a proofreader, and I had some people who'd read everything I wrote, and I wrote the right price, and somebody who was very religious told me I had no right to write that. How dare I? It was going to get rid of everybody who ever read my stuff. Nobody would ever read me ever again. And I sold more of the right price than I have of all the others put together.
Well, it's funny. My first 3 books, the Awakening series, when I first released those, the heat level, see, it's like an adult drama, futuristic dark romance, really. But the heat level was perhaps a little bit high, and I had a couple of people say to me, "Oh, that was a bit spicy."
Same with that one. So a lot of that's been cut out and reworded, so it's all like
down from a 5 to a 3, I think we could probably call it.
Yeah.
But as soon I re-edited all 3 to reduce the heat level, and then as soon as I'd done that, people say, "Oh, have you got any more copies of the other one?"
Get this one, right? And don't get me wrong, I was very, very pleased. One of my books, is it's up there with the heat level, and publisher got interested, but said, you know, I'm not printing erotica. You know, can you do me a rewrite? So I did. Took all the erotica out of it, sent it back to her. She said, "Oh, I preferred the original version, so I'm publishing you. Sorry."
Yeah, I've spent ages putting that right. Thanks.
Yeah, I was just like, "Oh wow." You know, what do you do?
I suppose it's just on the audience, isn't it? It's what your audience are expecting. I think for me, particularly my first novel, a lot of people that knew me were buying it, and perhaps a bit shocked to have that from me, because normally, bless you, the
fever, so you know.
What people are expecting from me, and like erotica and that sort of stuff, is normally a woman would write that. So the fact that I'd written something with sort of some strong sex scenes in was sort of a little bit random, perhaps, for people.
You will be very surprised at how many men write erotica under a female pseudonym.
Maybe that's what I should have done.
And right, so I've done this. I've read and reviewed, and I turned around to one and I said, it's not the first time I've come across a man writing as a woman. And they were like, in text, "I'm not a man." I think you are. From the point of view that you've written, I think you are. How did you pick up on that? Well, hello.
You get it a lot, don't you? That there's like on Pinterest, I think it is, or wherever it is, and there's a whole section of men writing romance.
Yeah, because you know what? People seem to forget that men do fall in love.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like as if we don't credit them with doing that. It's kind of like as if we don't credit them with being romantic. And yet, you know, it's mainly men that go out of their way to do things on Valentine's Day for the woman. You know, so to say that a man isn't romantic is like saying that sharks don't, you know, in the sea.
I suppose, yeah. I think the essence, perhaps, is for a woman writing romance is talking about the emotions rather than the physical, and a guy writing romance will talk about both. I think.
Yeah.
That's probably the crossover.
What you tend to get with men when they write romance is it's sort of, it's very dominant romance, domineering romance, as opposed to women who tend to write submissive romance. So the MC tends to be submissive.
I would say that not entirely for mine.
I'm not saying it tends to be the rule, not the exception.
Yeah.
And I find, because if you think, I read 70, 80 books a year.
That's good going.
And as I say, I tend to find that when men write, the main character, no matter whether the main character, yeah, well, they always have two, and but obviously the male is strong, and the female, but the main character just tend to be dominant, as opposed to when women write it, the man's kind of like he's a hero, and that's just what I found reading.
Well, you need to. I'll send you a copy of Finding Love in 2045, right. And I think the dominant element. I think perhaps there is a part of that at play, but it's not quite the vulnerable maiden. It's the initial story starts off with a vulnerable maiden that sort of, and then it's her journey, her journey to finding love in 2045, effectively.
See, all my females tend to be strong, independent women.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why.
No, I wonder. Well, I say with that one, she starts out not so much, but then it sort of grows and becomes a powerhouse. But that's
good from a reader's point of view, because you sort of grow with the character then as well.
Yeah.
So that's a fantastic way to put it, because at the end of the day, you don't want her to remain Minnie Mouse all the way through, because then she'll just irritate the hell out of you.
No, that's it.
You want her to stand up for herself, or at least I do.
Well, across the three, the lead into the series is Time to Click, and that's the story of the other main character. And he makes so many mistakes in his relationship journey. It's sort of tortuous journey, trying to find love, sort of thing. But that's enough about mine. Your recent stuff, Two Houses, Pretend Girlfriend, and The Right Price. Mm-hmm. The Pretend Girlfriend. Tell me about this.
Actually, Brandy's my favourite character, because she's nobody's fool. So what's happened is you've got two people, a boy and a girl, who basically want to give someone else a dose of revenge. So Brandy's nemesis, right the way through, high school and they've gone into college, is that this Jolene girl, every time that Brandy likes a boy, Jolene goes in and snatches him. Because
Jolene, this is nothing to do with the.
I just love the name.
Dolly Parton.
Yeah,
that's a Dolly Parton song, isn't it?
Yeah, I just thought it was really apt, though.
Yeah.
So Brandy's got to the point where, until she's well away from Jolene, and Jolene's just not bright enough to be going to university. So as far as Brandy's concerned, university time comes around. And she can go off and she can then start thinking about relationships. So the place that Brandy's in right now, she's not interested in relationships. Mm. She is up for a healthy dose of revenge on Jolene. When, like, in Two Houses, you meet like a gang of bullies that they've come from a posh school. They look down on everybody. That's the kind of boys they are. But then when you get them separate, a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
And
out of the group setting, they become different people.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a good little step into that. What I want to talk about, I think I'm mindful of time. Oxford University, you did a writing course there, didn't you? Tell us about that.
I did a short creative writing course at Oxford University, and I loved every second of it. But we did it in in February 2020, and literally, it was just a couple of months long. I started in January, finished it in April 2020, right in the middle of COVID. So I didn't get to go to the university to pick up my certificate, but I would highly recommend anybody to do a course, on creative writing, because there's so much to learn. Different ways of expressing yourself and expressing your characters. and different because it delves more into descriptive writing, and how to get the best out of show not tell.
Yeah.
So yeah, can highly recommend. It's Oxford's probably a little bit more expensive than other universities to do that, but it was one of those things. It sort of like was a bit of a joke when I applied, because I was convinced they were going to turn me down. What Scouser ever gets into Oxford, but they accepted me.
It's a pity you couldn't go down there get your cap and gown for the collection of that.
Oh yeah, it would have been nice to be able to go and pick up the certificate, but it wasn't. It was emailed to us because by the time the certificates came out, it was like right, and we were in lockdown.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the sort of the show not tell.
Mm-hmm.
In reviewing other people's work, so often we get the show and the tell.
Yeah,
it's sort of trying to over explain.
Yeah, and part of, if you can see it, I don't know. Can you see the pink there?
Yeah,
that's coming out.
I was going to say mine just expand. They don't come down.
Yeah, the other way. I might put it in somewhere else, where you can get to a point, but you shouldn't do it in the first chapter. You shouldn't tell in the first chapter. You shouldn't do the backstory in the first chapter because it knocks the pace out. So yeah, my first chapter.
You need your res. That's it.
Yeah. And some more. I went through the first chapter. I was like, out.
This has been a joy. We had trouble getting this on. We both had things happening, but we got together in the end. And
fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. It's
been a pleasure. You are a treasure, aren't you?
I try. It's like someone said, because I do a lot of stuff for writers online, and everybody says, "Why'd you do it?" Because I love it. I love being able to help people, which is part of the reason I'm a priest. But it's kind of like, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And we should be there to support each other and lift each other up. And so I tend to read. I try to do 2 indie books a month.
Yeah.
Read and review, and then they get their own page then at Cobbett's.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's I'm always going to be there for indie writers. So I think my catchphrase on the website is supporting creatives since 2017, which is what I've been doing.
Oh, that's good. I think less and less people are reading books, aren't they?
Do you know what? I thought that we seem to go through a right slump where people, and yet I'm in work now, and there's girls there who are like in the early 20s, and they're like, "Oh, I read this last night, read that last night," and we seem to have come full circle. Or whether I don't know. A lot of the young girls in our place read, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that we had a bit of a revival, sort of, and as much as I'm loath to say it, with 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
I think that got people reading again, and that's fantastic.
I guess the thing is, if you're watching something on TV that's got some sex scenes, that can be a little bit embarrassing, can't it?
Yeah.
But if you're sitting down reading, people don't know what you're reading.
No, unless it's like Bridgerton.
Depends on the title, doesn't it? It depends on the title.
Yeah, so you put a fake cover on and you can sit and read it on the train. But again, Bridgerton's another one. People are picking up books again.
Yeah.
Which is, I think.
How are you with e-readers and stuff and reading off your phone?
I have I have a Kindle for reading in bed, but it's one of the big old ones, like 2013 model. And it's great. I love it. You know, when that goes, I'm going to see if I can get a second-hand 2013 model because, you know, it's just the right size for me to see my eyes.
Yeah.
But I prefer books.
Yeah.
I prefer books, you know, and I will only buy a Kindle version if like, for instance, with the indie writers, you know, I tend to go for the Kindle version because it's easy. Somehow it's easier for me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But with like J.R. Ward, Stephen King, Terry Pratchett, I like my series, and I like when I'm
get a grip of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like to keep them as well. So I've got like lots of different bookshelves. You know, for all my series, you know, the one in the corner that I showed you earlier, that's my J.R. Ward one. That's going to be filled again. You know, the ones that I've already read are down there, but they will go over there when they're being reread. And that's my J.R. Ward shelf. I've got. I don't know if you can see that. That's my Terry Pratchett shelf. Can you see it there?
You are a true bookworm, aren't you? That's it.
Oh yeah, hang on. That I've got another bookshelf behind me, and I've got a massive one in the lounge.
Oh dear.
So yeah.
Well, then, Michelle, it's been absolutely awesome. Thanks for coming on the show. Everybody, hope you've enjoyed the show. You can find G Cobbett. Her details will be in the description. Details in the description to find some of her work. You can also find her on Twitter. I'll put all the links in for the website, Twitter, and everything. So check out her stuff. Michelle, great to talk to you. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Cheers.